Andrew Cuomo is the blue Donald Trump. Both of these guys are very similar. They're more similar than they are different. Both of these guys were wildly incompetent in their handling of the COVID-19 pandemic. Andrew Cuomo as the governor of New York and Donald Trump as the unfortunate president of the United States. Both of these guys have been accused by people of being just bullies. Both of them get on TV and just insult and degrade people. Both of them have been accused by multiple women of sexual harassment. I'm going to play a couple clips here just to kind of back up the point that I'm saying that Andrew Cuomo is just the blue. By that, I mean the Democrat Donald Trump. The funny thing is, both of these guys have rabid fans who will defend them to the end. And those people on neither side are going to admit that either is like the other. But they will point out the faults of the other. So the Trump supporters will point out the faults of Andrew Cuomo, yet ignore those same faults in Donald Trump, and vice versa. Cuomo's supporters will point out Trump's faults and claim that they're part of the resistance, just as Cuomo did. But they will never recognize the same faults in Andrew Cuomo. So here's a clip from Cynthia Nixon. She was running against Cuomo for governor of New York in the primaries. And she had some things to say about his bullying behavior and the fact that he claims to be part of the resistance, then governs more like, a Republican.
In a few days, or maybe sooner, Governor Cuomo will walk out of that room and do what he always does. Promise big, get some headlines, and ultimately hand over all the power to his buddies in the Republican Senate. It's all scripted. He deserves an Oscar for his performance. Some might say that his lack of acting experience makes him unqualified, but I actually think he's doing pretty well. It just goes to show you what a novice can do if they put their mind to it. In New York City, he puts on an entire Broadway show to parade around as a progressive Democrat leading the resistance. But in Albany, he is deftly handing over power to the party of Donald Trump. And New Yorkers are beginning to smell the truth.
Now, of course, Ms. Nixon did not beat Andrew Cuomo, which is unfortunate. Perhaps if she had won, New York would have had a more competent and caring person at the helm during the COVID-19 crisis. Here's a clip from CNN. This councilman in New York City named Ron Kim is claiming that Cuomo threatened him regarding the nursing home scandal. Let's check that out.
Look, this has been an issue you've cared a lot about for a long time, and I'll get to that. You and I talked about it back last summer. But please tell me about this call with the governor.
Good to see you, Aaron. This happened last Thursday evening around 8 o'clock after news broke that his top aide had lied about hiding data information from the federal government for political reasons. She admitted to that in a private meeting, and it was exposed. And the governor called for about 10 minutes. It seemed like 1 hour, berating, yelling, and threatening that I have to issue a statement that invalidated what I heard. He asked me to lie to cover up for his staff. And this was done in front of my family. He called me. My wife was right next to me. I was right about to bathe my kids, and it really just put my family and my wife into shock and trauma for many hours, and she couldn't get any sleep that night. And it's highly inappropriate, for the governor to have done that.
He said he can destroy you. I mean, he literally said that. And what else?
He said, I haven't seen his anger, I haven't seen his wrath, and he will, just tell me, he will go out, and he's been biting his tongue, but he will go out tomorrow and destroy my political career, my, everything. Like he would say how bad of a person I am to everyone in public. But it was just the yelling. And at one point,
So you can go and check out, there's a lot of clips of this guy talking about Andrew Cuomo. There's actually a long form interview with him on the show The Hill, or on the Hill Rising, I believe it was, where he calls for Andrew Cuomo's impeachment, which I agree with. The Democrats in New York need to get rid of Cuomo because they can't just say, hey, we're against Donald Trump and everything he's about, but then support their own version of Donald Trump. These behaviors are something that is just completely toxic in our politics, and we need to get rid of these types of people because this isn't conducive to a functioning society to have these like egotistical, jackass, obnoxious politicians who are looking out more for themselves than anyone else. It just doesn't work. So this final clip I'm going to play is just, and I'll let this one play out. It's a short little clip from NBC New York about the recent sexual harassment allegations. There's 2 women that have come forward against Cuomo.
From another former aide of Governor Cuomo's. In a published report, she claims he sexually harassed her. And tonight, the governor is asking for an independent investigator to look into both cases. First, former aide Lindsey Boylan came forward this week with her story. Tonight, Charlotte Bennett is telling her story. And News 4's Anjali Hemphill is live at Cuomo's East Side office with her claims and what the governor is saying about it all. Anjali?
Well, Gilma, these allegations come at the same time Cuomo is under fire for his handling of COVID in nursing homes, and now some lawmakers are calling on him to resign. Another bombshell in the same week against New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, with a second former aide accusing him of sexual harassment. According to an article by the New York Times, 25-year-old Charlotte Bennett says Governor Cuomo asked her inappropriate questions about her sex life, whether she was monogamous in her relationships, and if she had ever had sex with older men. Bennett claims the harassment happened late last spring and summer, during the height of the state's fight against the coronavirus, while she was working as the administration's executive assistant and health policy advisor. The governor responding in a statement Saturday night saying in part, quote, "I never made advances toward Miss Bennett, nor did I ever intend to act in any way that was inappropriate. The last thing I would ever have wanted was to make her feel any of the things that are being reported." But this is now the second woman to accuse the governor of sexual harassment. Earlier this week, a former aide named Lindsey Boylan came forward with detailed allegations, claiming that in 2018, Cuomo kissed her on the lips in his 3rd Avenue office, and there were times he inappropriately touched her back, legs, and arms. She also says the governor would refer to her by the name of Lisa, an ex-girlfriend she apparently resembled. Boylan is currently running for Manhattan Borough President and first raised these allegations late last year. Cuomo's office has denied Boylan's claims, calling them completely false. But when it comes to Miss Bennett's recent allegations, Cuomo has called for an independent investigation, saying this situation cannot and should not be resolved in the press. "I believe the best way to get to the truth is through a full and thorough outside review, and I'm directing all state employees to comply with that effort." The governor has already named former federal judge Barbara Jones to lead that investigation, who's known for her work with the New York Catholic Archdiocese in 2019, investigating sexual abuse by priests.
So if you want, you can go and check out more about that. But the thing is, Cuomo is just, he's awful. And really the only people who are still defending the guy are the hardcore neoliberals who, blue never does any wrong, and they'll always defend their pieces of shit to the end. And then, of course, you have your boomer women who are just horny for the guy for some weird reason. They think he's really sexy, which is just bizarre because, look at that. Does that look sexy to you? It doesn't look sexy to me. It looks like a complete just ghoul. But anyway, Andrew Cuomo is blue Trump. That's the bottom line. The dude is a complete D-bag. And the Democrats need to clean house, and they need to get rid of this guy because you can't be taken seriously as a party that condemns Donald Trump and his behavior, and then turn around and just make excuses for your own piece of shit. Of course, that's what's going to happen. The Democrats are going to, look the gift horse of the post-Trump era in the mouth, and instead of building their party into a progressive populist party that will give people a meaningful alternative to the Republicans, they're just going to keep propping up assholes like this and making excuses for Biden when he fails to do anything to help the working people of this country. And they're just going to hand the control of government back to the Republicans, or whatever the Republicans are going to mold into in the next few years. But before I get too further along those points, bottom line, Andrew Cuomo is blue Trump. He needs to resign or be impeached and thrown out of office ASAP.